The Amazing World of Gumball is known for its funny jokes, crazy animation, and moments that hit you right in the feels. But there's one episode that left fans freaked out, critics confused, and nearly ruined Gumball's reputation. Today we're taking a close look at The Girlfriend, the most disliked and lowest rated episode in Gumball history. Was it just a mistake, or did it really deserve all the hate? Let's talk about the episode that almost broke Gumball. The episode kicks off with Jaime, the school bully. She's mean, she's loud, and she clearly has no idea what personal boundaries are. But one day, she has an epiphany. What's missing in her life? Love. Yes, love. So what does she do? Well, instead of being like a normal person and asking someone out, she decides to force Darwin into being her boyfriend. Wait, what? That's right, a forced relationship as a self-improvement plan. It's a mess right from the start. Imagine someone just deciding you're their partner without even asking you. Darwin's reaction? Instead of pushing back or rejecting the situation, he just rolls with it. He doesn't seem particularly uncomfortable, and it's like he's just going along with whatever happens. Gumball, on the other hand, is fully on board with this bizarre plan, even though it's clearly a terrible idea. Big L for both of them. Darwin, seriously, where is your spine? Things quickly get even stranger. Jaime doesn't just stop at dating Darwin. Oh no, she ups the ante by dating both Darwin and Gumball. This is some next level bad idea material right here. She's essentially creating a love triangle where she's the only one enjoying it. Jaime becomes obsessed and decides to date both Darwin and Gumball. This isn't the kind of love triangle you see in rom-coms, folks. No, this is the kind that makes you want to run for the hills. It's awkward, uncomfortable, and downright weird. Now, you'd think the episode could just settle into the weirdness, but it takes a sharp turn into straight-up horror. Picture this. Jaime, in all her obsessive glory, starts chasing the boys down a hallway. And I'm not talking about a little jog. No, she's coming at them like she's the villain in a slasher flick, with the music to match. They're slamming lockers, a crazed Jaime wielding a baseball bat like she's ready to end it all, and her screaming like a banshee. It's like watching a horror movie and you can't look away, even though you know you should. Now, here comes the finale. And oh boy, it's a doozy. Jaime, who has clearly missed every single lesson on healthy relationships, decides to learn her lesson in the weirdest way possible. How does she learn? Well, by punching Darwin into a coma. Yeah, you heard that right. She punches him out cold, and that's when everything just stops. No resolution, no lesson learned. No sense of growth for any of the characters. It's just pure chaos and a weirdly sudden, painful silence. And then poof, the episode ends. That's it. That's the wrap. We've gone from forced relationships to slasher horror to physical assault in the blink of an eye. And at the end of it all, we're left feeling confused and uncomfortable. Alright, now that we've made it through this train wreck of an episode, let's talk about why this episode failed so badly. Because trust me, it did. The Amazing World of Gumball is known for mixing up different genres, but this episode takes it too far. It starts with goofy, slapstick humor, shifts to a weird forced romance, and then suddenly, without warning, turns into a psychological thriller. One minute you're supposed to laugh, the next you're uncomfortable, and before you know it, you're watching a scene that could have been in a horror movie. There's no emotional anchor here. Is this a love story? A satire on toxic relationships? A bad horror short? You don't know. And honestly, the show doesn't know either. It's all over the place, and it leaves you wondering what you're supposed to feel. One of the core elements that Gumball does so well is its side characters. They come in, add some spice, and leave. Simple, effective. But then there's Jaime. Making her the focus of an entire episode? Risky move. Jaime is violent, emotionally unstable, and has zero redeeming qualities. She's the kind of character that's so one-dimensional, it's hard to care about anything she does. And let's be real, she's not even fun to watch. She's just annoying and kinda terrifying. The whole episode is built around her, and it's like trying to build an entire movie around a villain you don't even care about. Now let's talk about the big one, relationships. The girlfriend tries to explore some pretty heavy themes: toxic relationships, consent, emotional manipulation, and fear. The problem? It handles them like a kid playing dress-up. It's all there, but there's no depth or understanding. It's as if the episode picked up a bunch of complex issues and just tossed them into the mix, hoping they'd make sense. The worst part is, it doesn't even attempt to address these themes properly. It just shows them, without any context or meaningful resolution. For a kids show, this tone-deaf approach can leave you more confused than enlightened. It's like they wanted to have a serious conversation, but didn't know how, so they just kept pushing things until they felt uncomfortable. The episode sets up this wild, uncomfortable journey, but by the end, nothing is resolved. Jaime doesn't learn anything, Darwin gets assaulted, and Gumball is left mentally scarred. It's like the writers just ran out of steam and decided to slap a happy ending on the mess. But the reality is far from satisfying. There's no payoff here, no lesson, no character growth, just a weird fever dream with no resolution. Watching it feels like a waste of time because you know nothing meaningful has come from it. The episode leaves you feeling empty, like you've just experienced something wrong, but aren't sure what exactly. So with all that chaos and confusion, the question remains: did the girlfriend actually destroy Gumball's reputation, or is it just a weird blip in an otherwise epic series? No, the girlfriend didn't destroy Gumball, but it definitely left a scar. When the episode aired in Season 3, The Amazing World of Gumball had already proven itself to be a juggernaut of weird, creative storytelling. The show had a knack for blending different genres and tones, sometimes all within the same episode, and that was part of what made it so unique. But with The Girlfriend, the show reached a point where its usual throw everything at the wall approach didn't quite stick. The episode wasn't just a quirky misstep, it was a full-on creative dive into what were they thinking territory. After The Girlfriend aired, Gumball still had some great episodes, proving that this one-off experiment wasn't the end of the series. However, it represented a creative low point, a point where the writers pushed the boundaries a little too far without really considering how it would land with the audience. This episode is a perfect example of a show trying to push creative boundaries and experimenting in ways that didn't quite work. And while not every experiment is a home run, The Girlfriend is definitely one of those examples where the show took a swing and missed hard. If we look back, Gumball has had other moments where the writers took risks and tried something different. And as with all experiments, some worked and some, well, let's just say they didn't. For example, let's talk about The Limit, Season 2, Episode 13. In this one, Gumball and Darwin encounter an invisible force that seems to control their every move, turning the whole world into a kind of twisted video game. The episode itself is pretty out there, combining a sort of what-if scenario with the kind of reality-bending humor the show is known for, but by the end, it feels more like a weird fever dream than a solid narrative. The tonal shifts are jarring, and while it certainly tries to be a bold experiment, it doesn't land quite as smoothly as some of the show's other more cohesive episodes. Another example is The Dress, Season 2, Episode 11, which takes on gender identity, identity politics, and societal expectations. But it does so in a way that feels a little forced and uncomfortable, rather than insightful or clever. The episode swings hard into satire, but it risks alienating viewers by not quite hitting the mark with its humor and tone. It's a case of a show trying to handle serious subjects with its usual humor, but the result ends up a little clumsy and more awkward than thought-provoking. Both episodes had their merits, but they also showed how Gumball's more experimental episodes can miss the mark when they stretch too far without the right balance. Now let's talk about the episodes where Gumball took similar risks but nailed it. The Job, Season 3, Episode 1 is a perfect example of how Gumball can tackle absurdity with heart and humor. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin try to get a job to help their mom, Nicole, pay the bills. The plot is simple, but the execution is brilliant. The show manages to stay true to its quirky, surreal humor while still delivering a relatable, touching story about family and responsibility. The tone is consistent, the humor is sharp, and the message about adulthood is wrapped up in a creative, funny package that still feels satisfying. Then there's The Console, Season 2, Episode 9. This episode parodies video game culture and the obsession with gaming, which could easily have felt like a one-note joke, but Gumball manages to layer in clever commentary on addiction and escapism. The show uses its over-the-top style to tell a smart, satirical story about how technology can sometimes take over our lives. It's weird and fun, but it also feels purposeful. The balance of humor, social commentary, and weirdness is spot on. Both of these episodes show how Gumball can successfully take risks and explore bizarre ideas while still delivering a compelling and satisfying experience. They understand the importance of consistency in tone, smart writing, and characters that remain grounded even when the show itself is anything but. The Girlfriend isn't the end of Gumball, but it is a cautionary tale. Even the greatest shows can have moments where they completely miss the mark. The lesson here? Sometimes you can't get away with being weird just for the sake of being weird. And yet, the show bounced back. It learned, it grew, and we still have Gumball episodes that push the boundaries in ways that work, proving that even with a misfire like The Girlfriend, there's always room for weirdness to evolve. So no, this episode didn't destroy Gumball, but it's definitely a reminder of how the line between genius and disaster can be thinner than you think. So, The Girlfriend may not have destroyed Gumball, but it sure left a mark. What do you think? Did this episode deserve all the hate, or is it just another weird experiment that didn't quite land? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.